This is Rob Carbone, and you're listening to BD4.
Here's Barrett from Shake and Bake. Hits a three. That's eyes in the crowd with Barrett. 5 on the 24. Barrett previously in the air ball. The drive, the land, knocks it home. Gets it back, keeps it out. Barrett for three. RJ Barrett from downtown. Quick trigger three. Gets another triple. Looking for more. Smith to the buzzer. Now it's good. Smith from way downtown at the buzzer. No way you can overlook. Puts it in. They're on their feet at Madison Square Garden. Elliott to Ewing. That'll make the Garden more.
Patrick Ewing faced a double team, but still was able to hit.
Finish. And the foul. Houston ducks under. Got it. 8 tenths left.
You know what, man? The World Series might be a better series than I thought. I honestly didn't think it would be this tight. It might be the Rays' year, man. It just might be the Rays' year. You never know. They could pull off an upset here. The series is tied 2-2. And it's Glasnow versus Kershaw tonight at the moment. And we are in the 5th inning. It's 3-2 LA. It's fucking tight. Tell you what, that game 4, that was nuts. That ending was insane. The Dodgers did everything they should have done to win that game for 8 innings, right? At least from what I saw offensively. Didn't catch the whole game for game 4, but, I saw them put the ball in play a shit ton. I saw them hit the ball at a very high volume. I saw them hit home runs. I saw them, pick up a bunch of other hits. They made a fucking bad play. They botched that final play. And Brett Phillips with the big game winner. But game 5 looks like it's pretty tight for another night in a row. Glasnow pitching. Tell you what, another night where Glasnow isn't pitching to ace standards. And I've said it before. It's new, but I did say it in the last episode. Either in the last episode or a couple episodes ago. But I do think Glasnow is heading towards that somewhat overrated label. You can hate on that all you want. Sure. But, the resume isn't that impressive. The stuff is there. That's what people love. He throws 99. He's got a curveball. Oh, fuck. Muncy just launched a goner off of him. That one's that was like 450. So there it is. Giving up more runs. His regular season resume Glasnow is not impressive yet. You look at his years, his season by season numbers, not impressive. And you look at his playoff resume, he's not been that good in the playoffs either. Very mediocre. That guy's overrated. He's a little overrated. The stuff is there to be lights out. But that's the issue with some people nowadays. They talk about stuff so much and all these numbers, the spin rate, his life on the fastball, yada yada. But it's all about results. It still has to be about results, and Glasnow hasn't been consistently pitching like he's been touted as. I still think he can be that number 1 superstar that everyone talks him up to be. But in the meantime, while he's not there yet and while he's still developing, I think he's a bit overrated. I'm not going to call him that guy yet, right? It's kind of like my whole thing with Severino and how Yankees fans treat him like he's a god, but he's far from that right now. Anywho, it's 4-2 Dodgers in the 5th now. Glasnow just gave up a shot to Muncy. I just finished watching for the second time Uncut Gems. That's one of those movies where no matter how many times you see it, it's going to drain your fucking energy. It is so stressful. It is so incredibly stressful. It's intense. It makes you breathe heavy. Oh man, I wanted to like run it off. You know, after watching, I needed to like run around the block, take a couple of laps just to run off of that anxiety that was built up. God. Didn't Adam Sandler not win an award for that either? He was ridiculous. He was spectacular. Fuck, that was a good ass movie. Intense. Football Sunday today was. As I speak, it is Sunday, October 25th. Almost Halloween, but it was Football Sunday today. Did some more betting. Used my earnings from that UFC 254, which we're going to talk about in just a second, to bet on some of these games. I had 3 parlays today. Didn't win a single one of them. Three-leg parlays, not a single one. I got close on that final parlay. I needed the Chiefs to win, so I had the Chiefs taking the money line. That happened. I had unfortunately, because I like the Broncos, but I had Chiefs money line, and then 33.5 combined points. 31.5 combined points, which happened. And then I had Mahomes for 266 yards. And he fell short of that. I think he had 200 on the dot. So we didn't get that one. We were 0 for 3. But whatever. Cowboys lost. It's funny that they suck. But, you know, it's unfortunate how that happened. Losing Dak. I didn't see the game, but I heard Andy Dalton now went down. So, fuck. Everyone's hurt, man. Giants, they lost. Thursday Night Football. Looked like they were going to win. They're about to pull it out. Daniel Jones does his signature fumble, turns it over. They lose. Giants suck. Cowboys suck. Redskins suck. Eagles suck, but they might win this division. It's a bad division. Antonio Brown is back with the Bucks. Brady and Brown gonna give it another shot. But that UFC fight on Saturday, wow. The prelims were good. Even the prelims were good. Then we got to the main card. That was good. The Whittaker fight was fun. But that fucking main event, the one that we've all been waiting for months, I have. Khabib and Justin Gaethje. Fuck. And I'm happy I am happy, very happy that I went with my brain instead of my heart, because I wanted Gaethje to win. I wanted Gaethje, but I fucking had that feeling that Khabib, 28-0 heading into the fight, wasn't gonna lose. So I used my brains there, and he won. It was what, 1 minute and 28 seconds, they said. But I was watching the fight, and, he looked great from the start. Gaethje didn't have his balance. But Khabib took him to the fucking ground. And had that first round not expired, he probably would have tapped him there. But the time ran out, and we got to round 2, and he had him in the triangle choke. Or the flying triangle. I don't know. I'm not a fucking jiu-jitsu guy. But he had him in the triangle, and he got him to tap. He got him to tap. He submitted him, and that was it. So I put some money on fucking Khabib for the money line, and I got my buck there. So that was fun. But that was a hell of a job by him to go out on top. He's retiring now, 29-0. Undefeated in MMA. It's just unfucking believable. And obviously everything with his father. So it was an emotional story, and a good way to end his career, if that is it. because I know how UFC works, Guys say they're out all the time and end up coming back, whether it be nostalgia or, some kind of motivation later on. That was fun, though. Really fun. All right. Tonight's episode is episode 171. Okay, I'm your host, Rob Carbone. Still talking Knicks, some more Knicks offseason and draft talk. This is part 8 of this little mini-series. Not much, the news is still very light, and it's going to be very light for a while because there's not much going on. The season ended and the fucking NBA draft isn't until 20-something days from now. So we've got a ways to go. What is it, November 18th, maybe? I don't know. Amari Stoudemire, I saw, is joining the Nets coaching staff. Ow. I loved Amari. Fuck. All right. That's our little intro to tonight's podcast, but we won't go on for too long, really. I'm hoping this is no longer than 30 minutes tops. So we'll see how this goes. All right, let's head to break, and as soon as we get back, we'll talk some Knicks. BRB. All right, fellas. So really quick, I just want to remind you that if you haven't subscribed to my podcast on the many different platforms that I'm on, you can do so right now. And all you got to do that is go to my website. Just go to nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect. Once again, in order to subscribe to the podcast and listen to the podcast or watch it on the many platforms we have, go to my website at nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect. So really the only one thing I guess we're going to talk about tonight is just, excuse me, is just that the Knicks are one of a couple of teams who are, quote, strongly considering this prospect that I'm hearing about, Yoeli Childs. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't know much about this kid, so I had to do a little more research, to get true information on him and real good analysis. I did watch some tape, just to get a true testament of who this kid is, at least a little bit of a taste of who he is. And fucking hey, again, in a class like this, you gotta live with whatever happens. So Childs is somebody who, if the Knicks do decide to get him, I'm thinking he's gonna be picked at 38, which is the Knicks' 3rd draft pick this year. They might take him at number 38. They could also, of course, trade back with their 28th pick into the 2nd round, get Childs, and then also a couple of assets, being that they're trading back too. That could be a thing. That could be definitely something they do. That definitely could be something they do. And fucking, that would work out nicely. Get some draft capital. And, maybe he doesn't get drafted at all. And the Knicks could sign him as an undrafted prospect. That's also, an option people are talking about. He's not even in some mock drafts. So, Yoeli Childs, 6'8" forward, 225 pounds with a 7-foot wingspan, 8'10" standing reach, and a 37-inch vertical. Kid is from BYU, a forward, sometimes plays center. He could slide up to the 5 occasionally for short stretches. But he's a 22-year-old from BYU, played there all 4 years. So he became the 6th all-time scorer in BYU history. And in 2020, more recently, Childs was a finalist for the 2020 NCAA Karl Malone Award, which is handed out to the top power forward in all of college basketball. He was a finalist. So a little bit about this kid's game. I guess we'll start with the pros to his game. He's a very good offensive player. Okay, so he can score. He can put the ball in the net. And Lord knows the Knicks fucking need that. They need everything. But yeah, he's a lethal scorer with a very dangerous post game. His post game is what I like most about him. He's got a great fucking build. Just a great upper body with some bulkiness, so where he can use that strength and dominate the mismatches in the post and really take on true traditional fours as well. He's just a high energy player. You see him, he's always posterizing people down low and bringing some energy to the floor. He's an energizer, a battery. What do they call those fucks? What do they call those little fucking energy bunny? Whatever the fuck. I don't know. But he's a good post scorer, and he's also a pretty good passer out of the post. He's very good at recognizing the double team when it's coming and then kicking it out to the guy open in the corner for three. He does that a lot. And that, again, remember when we talked about, I think it was a few episodes back, we were discussing Julius Randle and Tom Thibodeau, how he might use him. And, how Thibs, I always say Tibbs. I know it's TH, that's how you pronounce it, but I always fucking pronounce it silent for some reason. But I know Thibs has always used his bigs in the past, at least with Chicago, at the top of the post, right? Playmaking and passing that way. He used them as playmakers a lot. That's why Noah had a bunch of assists. He even did it with Taj Gibson for times. And that's a good sign that someone like Yoeli Childs is a good passer out of the post already. So he could potentially fit really good in a Tom Thibodeau. There I go. I did it again. In a Tom Thibodeau system. So that's one thing I'm going to keep an eye on, that post game. He's also a decent shooter. Okay. He's somebody who has improved every season in college in terms of shooting the basketball. As a freshman, he was 0 for 2, 9 points per game, but 0 for 2 from deep. Sophomore year, he started shooting 1.4 3-pointers per game and shot it at a 31% clip. He upped his points per game to 18. In his junior year, I have 32% from 3 on 3.1 attempts, and he upped his points per game to 21. And then in his senior season, he shot 49% from 3-point distance on 2.4 attempts, and his points per game jumped a bit to 22. Great senior season, very efficient as a shooter there. So yeah, he's a great flat foot shooter when you watch him play. A good catch and shoot guy, very exceptional ball out of the pick and pop. And that's one thing I'm going to like, if the Knicks had a point guard to use this kid with. So if they choose this Childs guy with their third round or second round pick, you would hope that they can get him going and they pick a point guard in the first round with one of their first 2 picks. So, in order to run that pick and pop with him. So yeah, he's a modern day big, right? He can now shoot as good as he rolls. Improving his 3-point shooting in that senior season was huge, to where, he did it at a volume just as high as he did when he rolled to the rim. He can roll to the rim as an excellent roll man, but now he's a good spot up pick and pop guy as well. And he's just, looking at him, watching him shoot. He's got a good form from deep, a good 3-point, shot with no wasted movement. So he doesn't look like he's, messing up. His mechanics aren't out of whack at all. So they look pretty good for big. Good transition scorer as well. This is somebody, like I said, he hustles a lot. He's always sprinting back in transition, and that's very un-Nick-like, right? That you don't see that from a lot of Knicks, and that's unfortunate. Especially Randle. He's always dogging it up and down the court. He's never given his full sprint. Opponents should never beat you in the fast break-in. That's one thing you can definitely rely on with Childs, is he's not going to be beat on the break. He will beat you there. He will get into his lane, and he will sprint the entire however many feet a court is. I always forget that. Whatever the fuck. But, an excellent transition scorer. And this past season in 2020, he averaged a very high 1.385 points per possession in transition. And then last here, but definitely not least, amongst his positives, I have, on the other side of the court, his defense and intangibles are very strong. He's very versatile due to his size, right? He could play the 3, the 4, and occasionally, again, like I said, step up to the 5 if he needs to, for small stretches. Again, constantly hustling, never gets beat. Got very long arms with that 7-foot wingspan, to where he can just, kind of like Mitchell Robinson, doesn't have to play you extremely tight on the perimeter in order to collect blocks. He averaged 1.7 blocks per 40 minutes in college, which wasn't great, but enough to show that there may be something there. Huge hands as well, very Kawhi Leonard type of hands. And that's helped a big like him average a pretty impressive 1 steal per 40 in college. Some intangibles about him. Excellent screener. Sets very bulky, with his bulky size, he sets very good, strong screens. Kind of like a fucking mountain man when you're trying to navigate around him. And with that size, he's also good in the RA as a rebounder, right? Averaged 9 rebounds in 119 games at BYU. And, he's one of those guys who's pretty smart on the glass as well. He will not just lunge for the ball. He will box out, and then he will grab the board. So he knows how to position himself and all that. So those are the good things when it comes to fucking Childs. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll get to a couple of the negatives to his game. Be right back.
I'm on a few different social media platforms today. If you want to follow my Instagram account, follow @RobJCarbone. If you want to follow my Facebook or Twitter account, follow @NY Sports Talk RC.
All right, so what do we got? He's not, when you watch this kid play, he's not the most fluid player. There are moments where he doesn't look like he's very smooth, I guess you could say, out on the court. He tends to have these moments where he plays very high and stiff, not in a stance you would like to see him in. That's one thing you're going to notice with Childs. He's a good rim protector, we said, down in the post and the low post, but his off-ball and help defense, I guess, needs a lot of work. It's mostly his recognition skills. A lot of times he'll fail to see, the guy cutting into the paint, right? He has a difficult time recognizing cutters and such. So he can be beat backdoor quite a few times, and that's going to be something he's going to have to work on. Maybe if that becomes an issue right away, we'll have, Thibs using him in drop covers more and not hedging on screens as much. That could help, I guess, band-aid that flaw there. And then, we mentioned how he improved. He definitely fucking improved as a three-point jump shooter. But, it is a small sample size of three-point success, right? In the senior year where he shot 49%, that was on 45 total attempts. Where from his freshman year to his junior year, 32% on 149 attempts. And not only that, you take into account how ugly his free throw shooting percentages were. Now, this surprised me when I looked up his numbers, right? I was looking at the jump shooting. The three-point shooting was great, but he can't shoot free throws. 59% on 2 per game as a freshman. That, went to 64% as a sophomore on 5 per game. So once they started realizing he couldn't shoot the free throw, I guess they played Childs some more. And so he took 5 a game as a sophomore, but connected on 64%. 71% as a junior on 6 a game, so somewhat improved. But then this past season, while he shot 49% from 3, 54% from the stripe on 5 a game. So very not a good free throw shooter. It's a bit concerning, right? It's one of those questions you're going to have to ask yourself. Is this concerning, or will he eventually find his way, back to that junior season figure of 71%? Can he find a way to be in the 70% range in the NBA and shoot 34% from 3? That would be good. I would take that, but I don't know. Is it enough? That small sample size of 3-point shooting and the decent shot form, is that enough indicator? Are those enough indicators to be optimistic? Because I always like to look at that free throw as another indicator, but it's fucking been ugly so far for him. But we'll see. Is a bit foul prone, talked about Mitchell Robinson being foul prone. We do that all the time. Get on him for that. Childs averaged 3.2 per 40. That's all 4 years. For someone who depends on his physicality a whole lot, those numbers got to improve. He's got to do a better job of staying out of foul trouble, because that's how he plays defense. He's very physical. And so when he tends to get into foul trouble, he can get very passive because he doesn't obviously want to foul out. So got to find a way to become more disciplined. No more stupid fouls, 50, 40 feet from the basket. That cannot happen, like it did at BYU. And last but not least, he's kind of old for his class. He turns 23 years old in January. And for a rookie, that brings into question, how high is his ceiling? Is he more just a high floor player who will be ready right away, but might not be that great? I know some of the comparisons I've heard, and I agree with, Mike Scott, former Hawk. One I came up with was Taj Gibson with a three-point shot. Taj with some more stretch abilities. I've heard Al Horford maybe as a ceiling, another former Hawk. And then Paul Millsap is actually a player that Childs himself says he models his game after Paul Millsap, another former Hawk. So, those are just some players, some ideas of who he could be like. But yeah, if the Knicks do decide to get Childs, whether that be at 38 or with another second round pick, using that 28th to trade back, or if they end up signing him as an undrafted prospect, if they do get him on their roster, it fucking, it'll make you think, is that it for Julius Randle? Is Kenny Wooten's future in question? How much minutes is Kevin Knox going to see if we go and draft or sign someone like Childs? Obviously, a lot of Knicks fans want Christian Wood, and I really do too. Actually, Christian Wood is one of the power forwards. He's a stretch four who we've talked about before in the podcast, who I really, really want. I think the Knicks should definitely go after. But yeah, just another episode where not much has gone on, but we just pretty much discussed some of the light news and rumors that have been in the headlines of late. But that is it, guys. That's it for tonight's episode. We're going to take a quick little break one more time. And when we get back, we will get to the NYK question of the day. You're listening to BD4.
So, really quick, I just want to remind you that if you haven't subscribed to my podcast on the many different platforms that I'm on, you can do so right now. And all you got to do that is go to my website. Just go to nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect. Once again, in order to subscribe to the podcast and listen to the podcast or watch it on the many platforms we have, go to my website at nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect.
All right, let's get to the NYK question of the day. All right, so as soon as the screen loads and I can get to this fucking question, here we go. All right, so last episode's question in episode 170, we asked you to one second. Got it right here. We asked you to name 3 of the Knicks' top 5 leading scorers of all time. Just 3, but so you could have named, we'll go from order 1 to 5. You could have named Patrick Ewing, Walt Frazier, what happened? Fuck. Oh, Kershaw. Kershaw pitched well for another night in the World Series. Gotta give him credit. Ewing, Frazier, Reed, Allen Houston, and Braun. Those were the 5 guys. Name at least 3 of them I asked you to. So if you did that, congrats. So for episode 171, our question of the day, our NYY NYK question of the day is, as it says on the screen if you're watching the pod, who has the most triple doubles in New York Knicks history? All right, so one more time, who has the most triple doubles in Knicks history? Message me the answer on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, preferably Facebook or Instagram, being that I don't use Twitter much nowadays. So message me the answer, DM it to me, or just comment the answer once I publish this podcast. This is episode 171 of the podcast. I'm your host, Rob Carbone of BD4, where there is no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. Yankees and Knicks analysis. You know, we have changed the studio a bit, in case you haven't noticed. We've rearranged the studio. Again, we do that every couple of months. I like to relocate in the studio and change it up a bit, but that's the fucking deal. When we get tired and bored of the backdrop, we switch it up. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching and all that stuff. Hope you guys have a wonderful wonderful night. And again, God bless, take care, and have a good Monday morning. But if you're listening to this on a Monday morning, thank you. But as this is released, it should be late Sunday night / early Monday morning. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And if you haven't subscribed to the podcast, be sure to do so right now. Yada, yada. Guys, thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. All right, ciao.
This podcast is sponsored by Anchor.